military.
I said you're open to the idea of attacking Greenland?
We created.
No, we don't need to attack Greenland. We could buy it.
We can't buy it. It's not up for sale. So what you're saying is not true.
Would it be in the U.S. interest to do, not to do, to have, not to have? What is in our best interest?
Yeah, but no.
I'm sorry, but I have to call this out because at the end of the day, this is
not just Greenland, all over the world.
Yes.
And that's a major friggin' problem.
It is a problem.
So we're just going to take over all of the countries versus
we can either combat that problem by...
Hello, everybody. Guys, let's get right into the CNN Abby Phillip panel. This is just insane. We'll talk about it.
No, we're not going to take another country by force. I mean, why didn't he say that?
I think President Trump is basically saying everything is on the table in every single situation before he even gets in that spot,
so
which I think is a good thing.
Let's follow this along the logical lines, right? Everything is on the table, including using military force to take control over another country, maybe two. So when China says, I'm just going to take Taiwan because it's in our national security interests, and they have national security resources that we need, we're going to say, okay.
I don't think he necessarily is saying we're going to take it by military force. What he's saying is, the way I interpret it is Denmark's a pretty cool place. It'd be a whole lot cooler if they sold it to the United States, right? It's just, he's having some fun with it. I think his policies are going to be, America is back. We are so back, meaning everyone is on notice. The world is on notice. Donald Trump is letting the world know he's not messing around. He's not even in office yet. And once again, everything's on the table from a foreign policy standpoint.
But America is not...
These bootlickers are just like, America is back. Like, what is wrong with you, dude? It's like a frat boy. Like, guys, at what, to what extent do we just keep taking and taking? Yes, America first. I'm all for it. But at what extent do we stop taking from the rest of the world? Like this Panama thing that he wants to do. Guys, MAGA out there, if we somehow take control of the Panama Canal, I don't want to hear crap about immigrants coming over to this country from Panama and can't understand as to why this is happening. What are we going to do? Guys, like, at what point do we just keep taking the resources of the world and just squash other countries that are smaller than us? Again, where's the empathy? Where's the humanity? What happened to the people of this country? Ever since Trump came.
An expansionist military power, not in the 21st century. Okay?
Why?
Because that's...
Why not?
Because that's not the world that we live in.
Wait, hold on, Scott.
I know.
You answered that question.
Yes.
Why is the United States not...
So you're for attacking Greenland?
Why is the United States not an expansionist military power?
I said you're open to the idea of attacking Greenland?
We created...
No, we don't need to attack Greenland. We could buy it.
We can't buy it. It's not up for sale. So what you're saying is not true.
Order
Nothing. Everything's not for sale until it is.
Hang on, Scott. We helped create a world order in which we said you cannot just decide you want that country and then take your military and go into that country and take it. Okay, so that is the era of not being in an expansionist military era for the United States. And you're saying that's not true. Why is it not true?
Well, I mean, you could think small if you want to. I think Trump's thinking big, and he's thinking about U.S. interests. There are U.S. interests in Greenland. They have rare earth minerals. We already have some kind of space facility there, and it would help fortify us against the Russians. The Panama Canal is, of course, of interest when you consider the Chinese incursions and influence in this hemisphere. What Donald Trump is saying to the world is, we are not a shrinking violet anymore. We are the United States of America. We are the preeminent superpower. And reporters keep asking him to rule things out and take things off the table. And it would be the height of stupidity to do so now or to anything else before he takes office. Why would he tell the rest of the world what he may or may not do?
Here's one reason why.
Do you understand why they do that with Trump? Because they know how much of a sociopath he is, how much of a cult leader he is, and his followers will blindly follow whatever he says. Guys, leave in the comments below. If Trump says he wants to invade another country, he wants to put boots in the ground, does his followers, his cultist MAGA followers, do they behead, nod along their head and say, okay? Or do they fight back and rebel against Trump and protest in the streets? This is why it's dangerous to not have any type of critical thinking, MAGA. You're not able to think for yourself. I'm sorry, but if Biden or Kamala Harris was talking any of this garbage, I would call it out. I don't care that they're a Democrat, Republican. I don't care what party. I could care less about the parties. It's not about that. It's about humanity for me, civility, respect for others, empathy. What happened to that? You guys claim you guys are Christians and America is Christian, is this whole whatever, a country of Christians, whatever the hell they call it. Where are the values?
Play what he said. This was speaking about Putin's invasion of Ukraine and describing it in incredibly favorable terms. Listen.
A big part of the problem was Russia for many, many years, long before Putin said you could never have NATO involved with Ukraine. Now, they've said that that's been like written in stone. And somewhere along the line, Biden said, no, they should be able to join NATO. Well, then Russia has somebody right on their doorstep, and I could understand their feeling about that. But there were a lot of mistakes made in that negotiation. Well, my view is that it was always understood. In fact, I believe that they had a deal, and then Biden broke it.
This is deeply wrong on several levels. First of all, the promise to give Ukraine a path to NATO was made by George W. Bush in 2008 and the rest of NATO. It's in Ukraine's constitution, okay? And if Donald Trump wants to change that, that's one thing. But what we can't allow is the idea that Putin gets to decide what Ukraine gets to do, because the entire war in Ukraine is based on the idea that Ukraine gets to decide what Ukraine wants to do. It's a country. They have people there. They're allowed to decide what alliances they want to be in, and they don't have to ask Putin for permission. And Donald Trump can't give them permission, and Putin can't give them permission. It's their own country. They've got their own people. And Donald Trump doesn't seem to understand that's a huge problem.
I know some people think, oh, is this fun, or is it keeping options open, or is it Trump thinking big? But you know who thought big? It was FDR. It was Woodrow Wilson. It was in America that said, we are the country that believes in self-determination of people around the world. And you know who benefited from that? My grandfather, who was in jail for 4 years alongside Gandhi, fighting for independence. I want an America that is strong because of the principles we stand for, unlike the British Empire, unlike other colonial empires, a nation that believes in the self-determination of people. We're going to celebrate Jimmy Carter's life. He is the person who stood with the Torrijos-Carter Agreement in recognizing Panama's self-determination, because that was important for America and Latin America.
I also think it's
You're going
important
to get
that
this America, and you and I are going to work together in order to make sure we get this America back on track. It's an exciting. I think it's an exciting time for all of us. Just like you said, so many of us have had generations upon generations of families that have come in here and made the impossible possible. We got to get back to rooting for America. You know, when you watch the Olympics, you're watching curling, and you have no idea where that person's from or what background they're. All they have is an American flag on their shoulder, and you're rooting for them to win the gold medal. We got to get back to that.
Yeah, but I
What do you mean? Like, we all care about this country. The left and the right, we all care about it. It's just the behavior. It's just the decency, the civility. Right? Like, it's okay to have different policy differences and public discourse. It's just that ever since Trump came, civility, respect, all of that stuff is gone. Just simple empathy that they teach you, what, in the second grade? Gone out the window. Misogyny, racism, bigotry, attack on trans people, all skyrocketed. Now this idiot is talking about taking countries by force if needed. Like, again, at what cost? Do you guys believe we should be this country, this bully that just eats up the world's resources? Again, at what cost? This guy's all excited about. What are you excited about? We have a complete moron. It's that's coming into office who's completely beholden to his wife, Elon Musk, and all these other rich idiots. While they rob us blind, they lower the tax rate again for the rich. Like, these people are insane. They're gonna leave this country. MAGA out there, I behoove you to listen. You can't possibly agree with everything this moron says. Think for yourself for a second. Is this the world you want? If he says, let's go to war tomorrow against Greenland, and he needs boots on the ground, are you ready to be one of those pair of boots?
okay. I think that if you're the president of the United States or the president-elect, that a reporter is allowed to ask you whatever type of question they want, particularly when it involves using military force. And I think that the office requires somebody with the responsibility to say that, no, I'm not going to send our troops into war or to use military force. I would hope that that would be what
and
we
just,
want.
can I just note that when...
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to say one more thing. Guys, I'm a patriot. I love this country. I was born and raised in this country. But I care about the rest of the world too. Don't hate me for that. I care about other countries. We're all on this planet together, trying to figure it out. We should be working together. Could you imagine what we could achieve as a people if we just work together instead of just me, 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 me? How can we just eat up the world's resources? It's the same thing. It's the same problem in this country. We're so constantly fighting each other. A bunch of idiots in this country just have hatred for other people because they're different. Their ethnicity, their accent, their hair type, their skin color. Imagine if all that could be washed away. What we could achieve as a people. If there was no such thing as racism and bigotry anymore. That was just an insane thing to think about. Could you imagine what that would do to the human mind and socially to just be able to be the optimal version of society, honestly? We're so constricted with all this garbage, nonsense.
Canada came up. He actually didn't say he
Yes,
would
He
use
said
yes.
we're going to use
He has-
economic
He
force.
has the
Also not
capability
true.
Yes.
to
Also,
do
it's not
it.
gonna
He
work.
didn't. But
And,
he has
and I
the
think it
capability.
also, I mean, the American people made decisions, but there was a time when Donald Trump was actually running for office and people weren't asking him tough questions like this. And so we find ourselves, they were not asking him tough questions about,
Who did more media interactions, Trump or Harris?
yeah, on friendly news outlets. But,
No, who did more press
But
conferences?
Scott,
Everybody
you
here knows.
let's
Everybody
just
here
say
knows.
this.
Roe knows.
You say we don't want to talk about the past, so let's talk about the future.
You said he doesn't answer questions. He answered more questions today than Biden did in 4 years.
I'm saying nobody asked Donald Trump about using military force. And when he did, he started calling people like Liz Cheney warmongers. And now he's saying he's not opposed to using military force to take over Greenland.
Panama.
Panama. That is completely contradictory to what he was saying in the election. And it's highly problematic. And that is why I think we should take the blame off of the Greenland thing to stay there and put it at Scott's feet now.
Okay, I blame half Scott and
Sorry,
half David Sanger.
Look, to me, the greatest points are that he's looking around our region, our hemisphere, around the world and saying, what would it be in the U.S. interest to do, not to do, to have, not to have? What is in our best interest?
have,
but no-
And one other issue, he is also signaling something critical to our enemies around the world. No one respected Joe Biden. No one thought he would do anything. People don't know what Donald Trump might do, and there's value in that.
I'm sorry, but I
The guy's a moron. The rest of the world's leaders knows that he's a moron. And I'm sorry, they will take advantage of him. Just like Elon Musk is taking advantage of this docile old man that Trump is becoming now. They're going to take advantage. Russia's going to do whatever they want. Taiwan's going to do whatever they want. We're not going to be able to stop them, especially if they do it at the same time. If they both invade countries at the same time, what are we going to do? I mean, this is insane, guys. We're supposed to be a symbol for the world. Again, at what cost? Fine. America's best interest, but at what cost to the rest of the world, guys?
I have to call this out because at the end of the day, this is the 21st century, okay? And the United States is not running around the world and saying, I must have that, we'll take it, okay? This is not like the colonial era. So are we really in a world in which you are comfortable saying that the United States is now going to be one of those countries that just takes whatever they feel like taking on the map? That's really the worldview.
That's what
that you
Russia
think
does. That's
is-
what China does.
I don't think that's
I think
what
there
he's
was a
saying.
We're
word
supposed to be
used
better
there.
than
I think
that,
he's-
Scott. We're supposed to be.
I think he is saying that he is willing to look around the world and say, what is in the best interest of the United
Okay.
States?
Right.
And we already have a partnership
I totally-
with Greenland,
I
and we
totally get
already
that.
know that they have things that we could benefit from. And this does not have to be a hostile
I'm not
conversation.
disputing the nature of the problem. The question is, what is the solution?
Exactly.
The solution that Trump has put on the table is one that does not make any sense
Correct.
and also abandons American principles.
Exactly.
The answer to every question asked of Donald Trump is maybe.
Right.
Every question.
Except when he's asked, are you going to take over?
I totally agree with
Canada?
Scott,
And he says
that
no.
he might be just blowing smoke and it might amount to absolutely nothing. And that's the best case scenario, is that he's totally blowing smoke and he'll never do anything. And let's hope that's the case. But in the case that he actually decides to use American power to coerce an ally into doing something that they don't want to do, which it won't work anyway, he will be playing into the Chinese hands and he will be sending our allies into the arms of our enemies in the most strategically stupid way you could possibly imagine. So you can say, yes, he recognizes what America's interests are, but that's only the first step. The next step is doing something that advances those interests and threatening countries and bullying them, especially our allies, and sending them into the arms of our adversaries by saying strategically stupid things.
you think-
is
you
the
think-
opposite, is the ass,
Why
the
did he
bass
run?
backwards way of
You
going about
Greenland
it.
and Denmark are going to go running to the Chinese? Is that what you're saying?
What's going on in Greenland right now, if you
Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't China come in and say, hey, we won't attack you if you work with us? Like, again, at what cost do we just keep taking from the rest of the world? Like, we can't understand why when we start a coup in Haiti, that now we have a bunch of Haitian immigrants coming to this country. Again, at what cost? We should be working with other countries, benefiting them and us. Like, this idiot's not even in office yet, and it's already mayhem. Like, MAGA, I'll ask you out there, do you really think since 2016 that America is a better place? Ever since that fool came down, is this country a better place? For those of you that have kids out there, do you feel that this country is in a better place now? And how we treat each other, especially those who are different from what is perceived as an American or a white male? Is this the America you want? This the kind of world that you want to live in and you want your kids to live in?
care to know about it, is that the Chinese are investing billions of dollars into developing
Not just
Greenland.
Greenland, all over the world.
Yes.
And that's a major friggin' problem.
It is a problem.
So
It
we
is
just
our
wanna
answer
take
to-
over all of the countries
so
where the
we can
Chinese
either
are?
combat that problem by offering them alternative investment, or we can threaten them and bully them.
and
But it's
look,
also-
when you talked
are we going
about
to engage them
you-
positively or negatively?
Right.
You talked about Jimmy Carter. I mean, one of the reasons that that treaty came to pass was because there was a period of riots and violence in Panama as a result of our ownership, so to speak, of the Panama Canal. The treaty was intended to put a stop to that. So the idea that we're just going to go back in and take it over, it seems to be inviting an era of the United States just buying into yet another period of guerrilla attacks against our own people. And is that really a victory? Is that really what Donald Trump wants?
It was also to give us relationships in Latin America so we could win the Cold War, because we wanted Latin America to represent the United States. But here's the difference. Look, Donald Trump, even if you don't take him seriously that he's actually going to invade, he views the world as his own terms, as a negotiator, as a transactional matter, as a bluffer. And that's one mode of governance. But there used to be a different mode. Both Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter represented that in different ways. And that was an America that believed in principle, an America that didn't just lead with bluffing and negotiation. And I think there's a place for that. I think that's what the lesson of Jimmy Carter's life, that we should remember, regardless of where you were, that principles matter.
My other question, and maybe we'll save this for another day, is whatever happened to lowering grocery prices?
I know that's right.
We're going to get to that. You know,
I mean, when are we going to get the plan for that?
As soon as we fix the energy problems.
I think we're going to get to that. You know,
Invade Panama and Greenland.
when I was in the military, I actually traveled through the Panama Canal. I traveled through the locks. It's an amazing amazing sight to see. And guess who built that? Americans built that. And so we need to get back to the point of how are we bringing these countries together? Years ago, I mean, at the very beginning of this border crisis, one of the very first persons that I sat down with was the foreign minister of Panama that was basically begging me. I was a brand new member. She was begging me to essentially help with this border crisis. So I think there's some value in this. And this is where I think the House needs to lead, right? The president is going to maybe paint with broad strokes, but this is where the House needs to go in there and have a very defined point.
All right, Josh.
This Panamanian woman was begging him to fix the border. I don't believe that for a second. And like, as far as the grocery prices, this idiot's not going to do anything about that. MAGA, please, I would love to hear from you. Is this the country that you want? It's all negative. Mass deportations. Won't rule out force to take out Greenland and Panama. Idiot Elon Musk putting his finger on the scale. And now these H-1B visas, so that he's going to approve a bunch of whatever, make it easier for H-1B visas to come here, which I'm fine with. But they're doing it specifically to not hire Americans, which are costing them more. You guys, MAGA, for those of you that could get one of these jobs, is this the country that you wanted? He's not even in office yet, guys. We have 4 years of this idiot that's going to be puppeted around by Elon and Vivek. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Please subscribe if you're not. Thank you for watching all the way through if you did, and I'll catch you in the next one.